Pokemon is the most nostalgic video game franchise in the world for me, which, now that I'm thinking about it, is probably not the most shocking way I could have opened this video. I mean, forget video games, right? Pokemon might just be the most nostalgic media franchise in the world. It's a plushie, it's a card game, it's a song, it's an anime, it's what the fuck is that? What I'm trying to say is that finding someone who is nostalgic for Pokemon is kind of like finding someone who likes sunshine. Not exactly unexpected in the slightest, right? Here's another completely expected statement from me. I think that the quality of the video games has stagnated quite a bit in the last decade or so. That instead of taking their time to make the best game possible, Game Freak just kind of makes these games to push out more merch and make the most amount of money. Once again, this isn't exactly an uncommon opinion. Hell, even Pokemon fans have this opinion. But the biggest difference between me and them, and probably the most shocking thing that has been said so far in this video, is that even after playing Pokemon games for over 2 decades, I finally managed to quit. That's right, I saw the decline in quality from a franchise that had been a huge part of my life and that I undoubtedly have a huge amount of sentimental value for, and kind of just stopped. And I know. What a Chad, right? How does he do it? What's his secret? Well, I'm glad you asked me. Shit. The first thing that you need to know about me is that I have a lot of experience when it comes to burning things to the ground. There's actually another extremely nostalgic video game franchise that I also stopped buying before Pokemon, but I'll save that campfire story for another day. Second of all, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, I hate myself. And given the opportunity to, I will do everything in my power to berate and pull myself deeper down. You're just a giant hypocrite, you know that, right? You complain about these games all day long, but you still buy them anyways. That makes you worse than Satan. Or an AI bro. Is that what you wanna be? Huh? A filthy AI bro? What I'm trying to say is that I personally don't want to be the guy who keeps on complaining about Pokemon games getting worse, while also still playing them anyways. From here, there are only two options that really make sense to me. Either one, I quit cold turkey, a let him rot, sever all ties and end this embarrassment once and for all kind of deal, or I continue to buy the games anyways, but give up my ability to complain about the drop in quality. I just admit to myself that they have a nostalgic stranglehold on me and enjoy them for what they are. Huh. Okay. I just want to make it clear for everyone watching at home that just because I made my decision doesn't mean that there is a right answer here. I know that the general vibes so far in this video have kind of pointed to the contrary, but I really do believe that if you want to keep on enjoying Pokemon, then you should keep on enjoying Pokemon. You're not worse than Satan for wanting to be happy. Happiness doesn't always make sense, but I think that as long as it doesn't directly hurt anyone, then it doesn't really have to. It's valid either way. Alternatively, if you want to quit, then just quit. There are a lot of other games out there, and don't take this the wrong way, Pokemon fans, but they're a lot better than Pokemon. I'm sorry, I'll stop. I'm sorry. Both of these options are fine. It's this middle ground of I want my Creme and I want to eat it too that I just can't stand. Only constantly complaining about something while also still supporting it anyways is kind of just weak. I think the only exception is if your livelihood depends on it, which, let's be honest, isn't really me, so I wouldn't really have that excuse. And with all of that out of the way, it is with my great pleasure to announce that despite owning the console that they're all on, I have not bought the last 3 Pokemon games, which means I have been sober for about 4 years now. Wow, what a touching way to end this short and sweet video. God, I love happy endings. Okay, what's the problem now? Hi, yeah, the problem is, me? You see, I talk a pretty big game here, but the truth is that underneath the surface of it all, I'm suffering from withdrawal symptoms more severe than a shuckle at +6 defense. You can't just quit doing Pokemon, especially if, like me, you've been playing these games for over 2 decades now. I needed something else to fill that void. You know, like when you quit speed by turning to alcohol. Sounds easy, right? I mean, monster catching games are everywhere. Just like pick one, dude. And trust me, I tried. I thought that Shin Megami Tensei would be enough, but it didn't quite reach that itch. Okay, buddy, you're obviously just overthinking things. It's nostalgia. Duh. So how about Monster Hunter Stories? That's a series that has a lot of childhood trauma for me. Surely that'll do it, right? But even that still didn't work. For some reason, there wasn't a drink quite like Pokemon. The worst part of all of this is that I didn't even know why none of these games worked. On paper, both of them are just better than Pokemon in so many different ways, but they're just kind of missing something. Something that I couldn't quite pin down until I finally played Digimon Story Time Stranger. It's funny because the answer actually is really obvious, but from the outside it just seems so minor and inconsequential that I largely ignored it up until this point. And when I say that it is minor and inconsequential, I mean it. It's the stupidest reason ever. This is Jill. During the majority of my Digimon playthrough, she was one of my best units. She was one of the very first monsters I had ever caught, she was a big reason why I was able to beat the first boss without grinding, and her magic stat was through the roof. All of this meant that even early on, she had all the makings of a great, memorable part of my squad. But when she turned into this giant insect Ridley looking ass monster, that's when I knew. Jill is going to run this town, baby. She's going to be like the queen of the insects. She's going to evolve into like a giant wasp that shoots laser beams, or a praying mantis with swords for hands. Oh, that's going to be so cool. And then she turned into a plant. Oh. Okay. And then she turned into a goth. Yeah, okay. Now, if you don't know, the way that evolution in Digimon works is that if you want to evolve a Digimon into a specific form, then you need to hit certain stat requirements. In order to hit these requirements, the game encourages you to constantly evolve and de-evolve your Digimon over and over and over again, since you carry some of the stats from evolution to evolution. This means that, in theory, if I wanted to make Jill the queen of the insects like I always dreamed of, I could have de-evolved her and tried going down a different route, but the problem with this solution is that for some reason, every single insect monster I could find had HP, physical attack, or physical defense as the requirements for their evolution. And that isn't Jill. Jill is a magic user. I kind of wanted her to be a glass cannon. So unless I wanted to grind a ton and completely uproot her identity in the party, I was kind of just stuck with her being a goth. Now I know what you're thinking. Am I really complaining about ending up with a hot demon lady instead of a horrifying giant insect monster? Yeah, she's a Digimon, you sick fox. Also, am I seriously criticizing the game for something that is as shallow and as surface level as how my party members look? And this is where I think there's been a bit of a misunderstanding. When I say that I hate this, what I actually mean is that I love it. Let's do a little thought experiment here, okay? Say that I got exactly what I wanted. Jill evolves into some sort of giant centipede god, nothing bad ever happens to us, and we just go on with the rest of our lives as happy and wholly fulfilled individuals. How fucking boring. Where's the spice, the hardship, the roller coaster of emotions? I can honestly say that going through all of the stages of grief with the real Jill was way more interesting and entertaining for me than if the game had given me exactly what I wanted. Because that's storytelling. And this is what I've been trying to get at since the beginning of this section. Your party evolving over time is why I like these games, because it can be used as a catalyst for storytelling. Monster Hunter Stories doesn't have your monsters evolve at all. They grow up instantly, and that's about the extent to how much they change. And Shin Megami Tensei is just CEO Simulator, but you actually hire people back. Sure, you can still get attached to certain members, but they'll usually just change numerically, not physically, which is way harder to create a story out of. If you think that that point seems really emotional, subjective, and even kind of a bit stupid, then let me just tell you something, alright buddy? I agree with you. I hate that this is the reason why I like this game. Because this point about evolution and storytelling, it's not something that the game itself actually does. It's something that I did on my own. It's all in my head. It's all emotions. Let me just switch over to my critic brain for a second and say that in a lot of ways, I actually don't like Digimon Time Stranger. I don't like the story. I think the characters are annoying. I think the combat is okay, but nothing special. The quests are just box standard RPG quests, and the dungeon designs and exploration are really bad. My favorite things about the game would probably be its progression systems and its art style, but that's really it. If you're skeptical about any of the criticisms that I just gave, then good. You should be, because all I did was spat out how I felt. I didn't back it up with anything real. In a way, what I just said was not even helpful because I'm not even properly scaling how big my issues are. I'm not saying that I am or should be 100% objective in order to have an opinion, but I at least want people to see where I'm coming from. That's what a proper critique should be all about. And this is why this game is such a big problem for me, because that point about evolution and storytelling is the main reason why I like it so much, and yet it is almost 100% irrational, unexplainable, and emotional. I'm fine with that being the case for minor points, but am I okay with an entire critique hinging on it? And are these extremely emotional reasons for liking a game as valid as something that's a bit more grounded? If you've been paying attention so far and not just using me as background noise, then you know that I've already answered this question. But maybe you haven't realized that I've actually answered it twice now. The first time was during the intro to this video. There I said that yes, your emotions are valid even if they don't make perfect sense. The second, less obvious time though is the mere existence of this video. If I were comfortable putting this sort of thing in a proper critique, then this video would have just been a critique. But it's not. So the answer must be no, right? In classic me fashion, I gave myself the same question twice, and I got two different answers. Like a lot of things in life, I think that this is because the answer is somewhere in between. So here's what I think. I think that extremely emotional reasons like these are valid, but only when speaking for myself. That is to say that I still don't think that they have a real place in a proper critique of a product. I think it's better if those critiques try to be more generally applicable as to be more helpful, while these highly specific and very emotional points be kept close to my chest, or, for videos like this one. I can still have my opinions and enjoy things for irrational reasons, but I have to separate that from the stuff that'll actually help people decide if they want to buy the game. That's what making this video has helped me figure out. And maybe, just maybe, it's a heads up that I was a little bit too hasty when it came to giving up on Pokemon. We'll see about that one, okay? Right now though, I think that Digimon does do a good enough job at filling the void that it left, and thankfully the series seems like it's going on an upward trajectory. At the very least, it'll be my comfort game I can turn to when I want to invoke my inner child and make shit up. Like Manny, the unsung hero of the party who was always a consistent, reliable force, but was always overlooked because of how boring they were. Or Frank, who wanted so desperately to find an evolution that he liked, before realizing that he kind of just likes being himself. And then he massacred like 200 Digimons in order to become a god, something like that. Or Angela, who likes guns so much that at one point she became a gun. And, okay, that's a little bit disappointing, but you know what? It could have been way, way worse. Alright, what about you, Lisa? What you got for me? You still into that whole bird watching phase?